Welcome back to Remote Work Bay. I have Jonathan Clark here with me. I'm so excited for you to be part of my episode, Jonathan. I know we caught up a little bit before we were on this podcast, and there's a lot of interesting information that you shared with me. I thought it'd be very insightful for our viewers to hear a little bit about all the research you've been doing in the dollar valuation investments, as well as your travels in the last several years. So,
sure.
Why don't you tell a little bit about your story first?
Okay, sure. So the accent comes from New Zealand. And so about 20 years ago, I left the country with a backpack just a backpack on with $10,000 in my account. And I spent 6 months on the road just backpacking Northern Africa, the Middle East, up Turkey. And then I ended up in London. This was in 1999. And I worked in the whole ad agency world as a designer, art director, creative lead, doing all the stuff for the web for television channels. And then the crisis happened. Everybody was kind of out of work. I kept my job, and then so this is just more of a career level conversation we're having. And then come 2003, I moved to Canada, and I stayed in Canada for maybe 7 years, and I was sort of remotely working through different ad agencies there. And then come 2010/11, I won the green card in the lottery, and I went from Canada into the USA. And so here I am, and 9 years later, sitting in lovely Venice Beach inside the temple. So that's pretty much my story, how I've traveled from country to country to country through the career path. But basically, my foundation is I'm in the arts. I'm an artist. I've always been a painter, a drawer, an illustrator, an animator, photography, film. So whatever just happened, how the technology's just rolled along in life, I've just rolled with it. I love to travel. Well, when I was younger, I said to myself, it'd be great to travel. It'll be great to do art. And it'd be really good to get paid for it.
Yeah.
These were just principles I wanted in my younger self. And then here I am in my mid to late 40s, and I'm thinking, holy hell, I'm living that life. It's pretty cool. I'm living the dream. It's free, but freedom costs, comes at a price, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much my last 20 years in a nutshell.
Well, that's awesome. And I mean, we have pieces of your art behind us right now.
Well, it's not my sculpture, but it's my photo.
Yes. Yeah. So these are Jonathan's photos. He's an incredible photographer and videographer. And you actually just came out with a Burning Man film. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Sure. So the film is called Burningmanartonfire. You can get it on all the major streaming platforms. It was shot in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And and how I got roped into the project was I was sort of introduced to Sophia Fire, and she pulled me on board. She was a director of photography for the project, and she had made inroads with the temple and the Burning Man team itself, and were given access as a film unit behind the scenes. And then so come 2018, I spent close to a month in the desert, and so shooting everything that I could get my hands on, anything that was funny, cool, creative. Long days, up at 6 in the morning and in bed 11 o'clock at night. So I didn't have a party Burning Man. It was a big work. And we had a very, very small team. Sophia, the director, we had an assistant, and then a few random people who were flying drones and other camera people who we pulled in their data on later on. And the fun bit would be we're embedded with a temple camp, and the artist is Arthur Money. He was a French architect, and he built a temple called Galaxia, and that's behind me. And so I followed Arthur for about a month, and from Reno, where he was assembling the pieces, brought him out to the Burning Man itself with the volunteer team. And then from square one, I followed the volunteers as they built the temple, and then at the same time covering Andrew Johnston, who was the lead designer of the man base, following him around, and then plus a lot of artists that were around, other artists that were around the Burning Man itself, and central sculpture. And so after 2 years, I went away into the edit suite. I had no idea what was going on, so I was just privy to seeing it when it first premiered. And so I was with the temple right until it's collapsed, and so now there's this movie, which is, I would say, it's a very there's a lot of videos on Burning Man all over YouTube, and it's a lot of TNA, beautiful, lots of dancing, which is really nice on the eye.
Yeah.
But Burning Man is really, there's another part which is about all the beautiful art and the stories behind it and the art, and that was the route that we took.
Mm.
And so, so it's the characters, the people behind it. It's a very character-driven story, you know. So yeah, I'd say just go see it and write a good review.
Yeah, I just saw it last week and absolutely loved it. And like you said, I love how it followed different characters
Yeah.
instead of just the art pieces itself. And it just it kind of it brought the pieces to life because you know who inspired these pieces. And that's what I love so much about the doc. Would you say it's a documentary? It's a documentary.
It's a documentary.
Yeah. But anyway, you guys should definitely watch it. It's on Amazon, right?
It's on Amazon, Vimeo, iTunes,
Yeah.
Google Play, the usual streaming play.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of the movie?
You know, I think I really liked, like we were talking about that twist. I mean, it's such a real thing that happens, you know,
Yeah.
in real life, and especially with what's going on in our world today. There's like a little twist at the end that you just don't expect, right?
Yeah.
Because most of it is focused on the artist and their inspirations for all their pieces, but then you kind of get into the storyline of their life as well, and that's what I really loved about it. Yeah.
Okay. So the twist you're talking about, I guess, is Tommy.
Yes.
Yeah. So I won't give the story at the end, but Tommy lives in the town of Gerlach, and he's been there God knows how many years, and he was basically adopted by the co-founder of Burning Man, Flash Hopkins. And so Flash Hopkins, Larry Harvey were best friends. And Flash in the movie, he's the guy that brought Burning Man to the desert.
Yeah.
So he's a larger than life. He's a Joker character, and I got to spend quite a bit of time with Flash, and every time I was with him, I just always had a big smile on my face. And then when I saw Tommy in Gerlach and I saw Flash's relationship with him, I thought, these guys have got to be on camera.
Yeah.
And so I got Tommy and Flash radio show in Gerlach, and then and we had a good time there. And then I'll just leave it there, and then people can watch the movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's really actually quite beautiful that you captured all of that. That's what kind of I felt like it just brought so much life to the film. You're like, oh wow, this is real life. And this is what happens, and this is what happens at Burning Man, and we grieve, we celebrate. You know, it's literally the cycle of life, and that's
exactly
what's so beautiful about it.
And the temple's there, and that's all part of the cycle, you know. So
okay, well, let's talk about your next move. You were telling me that you're moving back to New Zealand, and
so
I'm talk about that.
Gotcha. So I'm what you will call classically the digital nomad. So but I work, you know, doing it in a film perspective. So I travel to a lot of countries. I'm what you would call, you know, a travel videographer. I'm a documentary filmmaker. Anything to do with cameras, still or video. And sort of how I make a living is when I get hired to shoot, you know, documentaries or short documentaries on news pieces, and then I also shoot a lot of content at the side that just goes into large repositories that gets licensed out for travel content documentary. So that's how I can make a living there, and it's enabled me to kind of, you know, travel all around the world and just keep shooting. I love it. So it's now 2020. The whole world's had just pretty much a chaotic, you know, 6 or 7 months due to the sea thing. And it's basically caused the largest diaspora on the planet of people reassessing their values, reassessing what's important to them, and people have lost jobs, and so people are making a move to different areas. So I will be making a move back to New Zealand, you know, come sort of election time. I'm now in the States now for 9 years on the green card, but soon to be no more. So and what caused it? You know, half of it's family. You know what's important in life, and I have, you know, elderly parents. I have a lot of, you know, nieces and nephews that I'm very close to, brothers and sisters, and so I can see, you know, a pretty good quality of life in New Zealand going forward. And so a lot of people are returning to where their roots are. I spoke to one gentleman the other day. He was living in LA, and he moved back to Alabama. He wasn't back there for 4 years, whatever, loving it. And so I'm driving around the streets of LA, and it's great because it's like the traffic's very fluid. I'm up at San Francisco, the traffic's very fluid. Either people, you know, unfortunately lost their jobs, work from home, or a lot of them have moved back to their place of where they're from. And so basically people just, I think, knuckle down for the next few years and write out where they are, you know, or move within the country. But as far as a international workers jetting forward all overseas, the two week quarantines would get old pretty quick.
So talk a little bit about how you're making money as you're traveling.
Sure. So when I don't have gigs on, so I will be last year, I knew something was about to happen to the country. Okay, I didn't know how the pin was going to pop, i.e. the sledgehammer, but anybody that had been following the economy on some level knew that it was right for a pop. Okay, and so I made a decision last year. Okay, at the time I don't want to be around when this whole shit banned in America. So I'll sort of plan my escape. So I traveled around America last year for 6 months in my car, 28,000 miles.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
Oh
and so one of the ways as I say, I travel as I go along. I hoover up a lot of data, photos, videos, you name it. I'm just hoovering a lot of data where I'm going, drones, cameras on the ground, time lapses. And then after I've traveled, gone through a place, I'll then find a place to hunker down for a few months while I process all the data and put it all online, for sale. And so I can make a life with residual income off it, where I don't have to worry about, how do I scrape up this dollar to pay the rent? I'm pretty good. So I keep as long as you keep a pretty simple life, what's the golden rule?
Right.
And so that's kind of how I make a living financially. In the meantime, I create a lot of space to help people. Because my survival needs are taken care of, very open to who can I help. And so along the way, I jump on projects where people that need to have their land saved or highlight some ecological crisis or something. I'll do, I somehow just get pulled into it as the cameraman, as the guy, the editor, the cameraman, and I'll make a whole video. And that's happened on several occasions. Helping certain individuals, spending a lot of time with them, helping them where they are in their life. I've had to kind of do that. So my father's been quite ill the last couple of years, so I've spent a lot of time with him, helping him. So it's just by having a cash flow, it really enables you to take care of your survival, which is, it's like once that's taken care of, you can really be at service to something else. That really brings you a lot of joy.
Yeah.
So I've had to connect with my father, really amazing in the last couple of years. Time I spent with him. And just working on all these projects, like in Bali, I was working on a project last year, a film, and then one up in Ubud actually, and then one up in the north part of the North Islands, helping working on a project, saving a beach.
Wow.
Things like these, they bring you a lot of joy. And if I look back at the projects I worked on, it wasn't some corporate gig that I got paid good money for, and because they're forgotten really quick, But it's knowing that you've given all you can to something that you won't be around for. It's there's a quote, something about planting seeds for trees that will grow that you will never be under the shade, or something to that effect.
Yeah, that's incredible. I don't know anyone that does. I mean, you essentially create stock photos and images and videos that you make residual income off of. That's actually really brilliant. That's super, super brilliant.
It's a tree industry. You need a lot of volume and a high quality, and the margins are really slim. So
you have high volume.
You got to go for high volume.
Yeah,
it's all high volume. So and if you're going to get into that world, know that it's kind of like that mountain's pretty large. But if you put one foot in front of the other, a couple of years. I mean, there's no magic bullet for like a solid cash flow. Unless you got given billions of dollars and you laid it down on a couple of houses and you just go, okay, bring me in the income.
Well, hey, you have something to show for it. All of these images and videos that you've taken, you can go back and be like, oh, in 2009, do you remember that? That tree? And
I love collecting. So I'm a harvester of data. I'm what you call more than anything. There was a name for this. I guess I'm an artist, but I guess more probably descriptive would be I would be a visual scribe. I collect history. I collect history visually, just like someone would write history. I collect it visually any way possible. I used to draw. I used to paint what I see. Before photography, I'd be traveling all around like countries like Syria and Turkey, and I'd have a sketchbook, and I'll turn up in some little town, and I'll pull out my little sketchbook, and then I'll start, sketching what's in front of me, some old temple or some old Roman ruins. And the next thing you know, there would be local people behind you that no one speaks a word of English, and kids are like looking over your shoulder or trying to see what you're drawing. So the next thing you know, you're drawing a kid's portrait. Started doing it in photos. So basically traveled because it was connecting with the passport to people's world. And then when I got into photos, I could do it a lot quicker. I was just meeting people after people after people after people. I go to India, tens of thousands of people. You'd be having very brief interactions with them. You'd be in and out of their life very quick. Whereas if I was drawing, I'd be sitting in that little town square for like an hour, and then I'll have everybody around me watching, like little kids and elderly people, and a bit more of a vibe going on between them, because it's really spending about an hour with each other. But photography did the same thing. It was more like a quick sketchbook taking photos. And at Burning Man, 2007.
Yeah.
And I go there more for the people. I love the art. I'm an artist, but I go more for the colorful people. And I'll just be photographing people all the time, just having lots of random conversations.
Yeah.
And then once in a while, you just meet someone and have just the most great conversation about whatever, and
Right.
they'll be, it was great.
I'm sure you've learned so much about so many different cultures and people from your art.
We're all the same. We're all the same.
We're all the same, but it's like, everybody's story is different.
Yeah, everybody's got a different story, and everybody wants to have their story told.
Yeah.
Everybody. So, for example, a lot of people, they don't want to take a photo of a person, walk up to the street, take a photo of that person, because they're scared of the rejection.
Yeah.
Okay? And one way I used to look at it was, you'd have that fear going, oh, what if they say no, and la, 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 la. But the other one was, this person has such a interesting thing about them. Let's just say he's a homeless person on the street and he has this crazy setup with his tent and all this kind of stuff going on. This person has such an interesting story. I just want that photo. It's so good that that's going to override your fear of the rejection. What if he says no? What if he says this? Or what if she says that? The rejection. You just got to go in for it, because you want the shot.
Yeah.
And then once you start doing that enough, it just becomes sick.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, what was fascinating. Have you been through Africa?
I have. I've been to Southern Africa and Southern.
Yeah, it's I remember I was super shocked. I volunteered in the outskirts of Nairobi, and some of these people in these villages have literally never seen a picture or portrait of themselves.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. Like I remember I had my cell phone and I'm taking these pictures, and I was at this orphanage, and the kids were they were just in shock when I showed them the picture.
I love it. I love it.
How cool is that?
They love it. And they're laughing, and they all want to have their photo taken.
Yes.
I remember being in India, you'd walk into a village and you'd have 100 kids running, 100. And then they'd see that you've got the camera.
Yeah.
And you were begging for their photo to be taken.
Yes.
And of course you go and try and take a photo of one, and then 100 kids trying to get in that same shot. You know what I mean? And you think, man, you don't get that in the West.
Oh yeah. And how different is it culturally now? Like in the Western world of influencers, we have our picture taken daily.
Yeah.
Selfies, right?
Yeah.
But in Africa, it's completely different.
Well, that's all changing pretty quick.
I'm sure.
Everybody's got cell phones now, right?
Now they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it just made me realize how culturally different we are.
Oh yeah.
And going around.
Very, very good. But at the end of the day, these places, and nobody speaks the same language, but the smile just takes you.
Yeah.
A smile, a laughter, and then some funny gesture, you've made a friend, and you don't have to say a word.
Right. Well, speaking of which, I would love to hear your take and perspective on where you think your industry is going in the next couple of years, specifically as a filmmaker, photographer, artist. Where do you think that's going?
Industry budgets have shrunk. So it just comes down to, I can talk as an individual, not as a film production company.
Yeah.
But as an individual, you just got to keep learning. The technology is constantly changing. Keep learning.
Yeah.
Learn every part of it. The shooting, the editing, color correcting, how to direct, produce it, and you got to do it sort of on smaller and smaller budgets. And then because people are getting used to the smartphones, people have a very, very short attention span with smartphones. So you can only get away with very, very short narrative pieces, so this kind of tiny thing. And then you get the long form, which is on the big screen, which I love.
Yeah.
Everything I shoot now, I'm really slowing down to shoot slow meditative kind of imagery, not in your face, fast cutting from a little phone. So Where's it going? I don't know. I can tell what, but last night I was playing with VR goggles, and that was a lot of fun.
Oh,
And
cool.
so I was on the Oculus, and I was thinking, and that got me thinking, okay, so we're now in this socially distanced world, and I think VR is going to get really big again. It's going to get huge.
Yeah.
And so after putting on the goggles last night, I was painting in this 3D space,
Mm.
and then I was thinking, and then I used Google Earth, and I was flying over New Zealand where I was from, and I was thinking, okay, so how can I put creativity in this?
Yeah.
You know, how can I put creativity? So technology. So we're going into this more VR world where our senses have been hacked, our eyes have been hacked, our ears have been hacked. VR is going to have what's called haptics or something, where everything's going to be hacked. So you're literally going to be plugged to a computer, and it sounds pretty dystopian. So
Yeah.
and so it sounds like, you know, when you talk about a technology world, you're losing the one-on-one, face-to-face contact with somebody. The heartfelt contact, the nuances in body languages, the looking into someone's eyes, all the little things that brings up the chemistry, gone. I'm looking at you on the screen, and I go, oh, yeah, Audrey, I just saw you the other night. And you're there and I'm here, and do I feel a heartfelt connection with you? Yeah, from the other night, you know.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you here like a formal kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so there is this moral dilemma, you know, of well, the thing is, how do I bring that heartfelt sense into this virtual world? And, you know, technology is kind of doesn't operate from the heart, it operates from the head. And, so anyway, that's just, so where's it going? Deeper into technology, virtual reality, probably virtual reality movies, you know, and if really good cameras come out that are really good 3D VR cameras, I'll be jumping on it. You know, I want a 3D VR drone. I know that technology exists, but it's really rickety. But when it comes out as a very mainstream product, I'll be jumping all over it. But at the same time, my hindbrain's telling me, you know, the real world is the world outside the technology.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a brand new documentary that came out on Netflix called The Social Dilemma.
I heard that. People were talking about it.
Yeah, so I watched it last night because all of my friends were like, Audrey, you have to watch this. It's crazy, right? And it's essentially a documentary on, you know, what's ethical, right? Like, is it ethical for, you know, the big 5 social media sites to have no regulation, right? And because their whole job is to sell your information, sell ads to advertisers, right? That's how they make money. And it's fascinating because it's their whole algorithm, their whole AI is made to get people addicted, to stay online, stay on their site. And so there's like, basically the entire film talks about what the moral dilemma behind technology today and what needs to happen. And that's exactly like what you were talking about. And it's interesting because all of these social sites like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they were all created with good intention. But, you know, unfortunately, you know, they have to make money too. And so what do you do at that point, right? What do you do? And like, for example, like, I think technology is great in some ways or form, right? As long as it's, you know, there is some sort of regulation for a company that is so involved with so many millions of people's lives, like Facebook. Like, I don't know if you went onto the virtual playa. Like, that was
I didn't.
So it was very interesting. I mean, it was quite buggy because it's a nonprofit. But it's cool. Like, I mean, it's the closest thing you could have gone to, you know, without going to Burning Man this year. And that
was it on the headset or on the phone or on the
both. So I looked at it on just the web browser. I don't have a VR headset, but you create this avatar of yourself and you go through the playa and see these 3D images of art pieces, the temple, the man, and it's very cool. I mean, it's cool, but of course it's not the same. It's
as you know, you're on the playa and you meet someone.
Yes.
And you're so beautiful. You have the most amazing radiant energy, and you feel very heartfelt. And the person goes, "Thank you," and they give you a big hug. You know, I mean, you can't do that.
I know. I wish you could physically hug someone.
Yeah. I mean, that touch is so we're losing touch with the technology. We're losing physical touch.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So it's the moral dilemma, but you should definitely watch The Social Dilemma. It's everything you were just talking about.
Yeah.
And I think you would agree with a lot of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, going off of that, I know, you know, offline the other day, we also talked about, your research on investments and the movement of money. I kind of wanted to get into that as well. And I wanted to hear a little bit about, just like a high level view of
Okay.
all of your research.
Gotcha. So I about I guess 8 or 9 years ago, I guess I took the red pill about the world economy, which is because when I was a young artist, it was like bang, stocks, bonds, blah blah blah. It was just like it was. It was like, yeah, it's not in my world, and because I didn't have a big picture view, and then I came across a book by a guy called Mike, and it was talking about gold and silver and how he's a very good storyteller, and so this was pretty cool. So I read the book, and then just as I finished the book, he started putting the series online, a 10-part series. Now, this is if you want to understand the big picture, a high level view of how the world economy, on who's really pulling the strings, and looking into history so you can see what's going forward. And I recommend everybody to watch it's a 10-part episode on YouTube. It's called The Hidden Secrets of Money by Mike Maloney. It's 10 parts. And right now we are playing out episode 7 in the whole Secret Money. And so what he does, he goes right into how Rome works, and how Rome was the rise of Rome and then the fall of Rome, and how they started basically printing money, i.e. debasing the gold and silver with other metals. And we have a lot of parallels going with Rome right now, like a lot. Like it's ABC, it's like exactly the same. And it turns out we've done this over and over and over again throughout the civilization with monetary system. And the last major, so we're at the end of a monetary system right now, which is the death of the dollar. It's on the way down. And the way that it's being killed is that the Federal Reserve, which is the big bank of the world, basically, they are flooding the market dollars. They are debasing the currency. And so right now, that money is just being passed into, they're just buying up all the mortgages, all the mortgage securities. They're passing a lot of money to big banks overseas and in America, and then those banks literally pay. And they are, we're in a stock market hyper bubble. If you know how to play it, great. If you don't know how to play it, you can join the ride up. You don't know when it's going to pop. And basically, these banks dictate when the crash happens. We have no control. They're the ones in charge of it. And when they pop that pin, and then everybody can't pay off their bills, the bank is like the big casino. The bank comes and takes all the assets. So we're about a giant asset. It looks like we're a scam. That's what it comes down to. So anyhow, with every problem, there's always a solution. And so this is the one that a lot of people have studied. The 1930s Germany, the Weimar Republic, they started printing off a lot of money, print. And to the point that you needed bricks of money to, go pay for a loaf of bread. And then there was a whole process that was very similar to Rome. Okay. And when the hyperinflation happens, and there was a huge crisis that gave birth to Adolf Hitler. And that's a whole another story in itself. Hitler came from the ashes of the hyperinflation. It was like we needed someone to blame, And so, so personally, I'm thinking, well, America hasn't hit the hyperinflation yet. We're in something called indeflation or stagflation, where some things are going down and some things are going up. But the flooded money into the system is not making all the prices go up yet. And so I'm thinking maybe 4 years from now, that's where we're going to pay attention to who's going to be the leader coming out of a hyperinflation. So USA is on the path to hyperinflation. So anyhow, how do you counterbalance a hyperinflation that's coming? May come, may not come, but pretty much all the cards looking at history, it's on the book. And how do you counter it? Is you look at what's been money for 5,000 years, and that's gold and silver. And if you look at gold in the last year or two, it's gone up from like $1,500. Now it's around $2,000. So what's happening right now is a lot of people who are sitting on savings, they know that cash is trash, but right now it's cash is king, but cash is trash. They're moving all that money into gold, because I know gold has a 5,000 year history. And when the stock market crashes and the real estate crashes, gold is cyclic, and it works antithetical to the stock market and real estate. And also silver, like the moon is attached to the earth, is attached to gold, what's the gold silver ratio. And so this is just what I'm doing. Shift a lot of, because we live in such shaky times right now, if you know how to play the stock market, great. You got to really have your ear to the ground. If you're not in that, it's like, how risk averse do you want to be? How, you just want to, these next 5 years is going to be very, very shaky. You want some least risky asset that you just want to sit in, would be like gold and silver. And then the elderly generation are kind of moving that. But at the same time, birthed on similar principles, we've got the cryptocurrency right now. And he was a person or a series of people. And he could have been a shadow government. He could have been NSA. There's a lot of debate. And which was the birth of Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has a lot of the similar properties of gold. It has to be mined. There's sort of only a fixed supply. You can break it down into certain, you can break it down to smaller pieces, and you can send it to another person without being censored by a third party, i.e. a government or a bank. So I could go on the street, I can put a gold coin or a silver coin in your hand. No bank is going to say, you can't have that. No government's going to say, you can't have that. And so I could have Bitcoin or crypto, and I can walk into a new country, give it to another person, and no one has any say over it. It's called censorship resistant. So that is the cryptocurrency movement, and that's generally, the younger part of the population.
Yeah.
The older part are going into the metals, but they have the same principles. I say be in both. Okay, going into the crypto, I like to poke around the crypto world. So that's a very, very kind of deep world in itself. This whole thing is playing out like a movie right now. It's like the crypto world is playing out like a daily drama on Days of Our Lives. So it's constantly changing. It's just so much.
Yeah.
And this whole world economic crash or paradigm change that we're going through is like the last scene of the movie right now, in the global movie that we're watching. It is literally the last scene of the whole movie, which is, are we going to go into a one world currency, which is, I suspect, is already being built on the blockchain, which is the Federal Reserve, or are we going to go into a decentralized economy of like cryptocurrency, where people trade with each other, but not through a third party, i.e. a bank? Probably the two worlds are going to exist side by side, but there's a bit of a tug of war between them, like this: the decentralized world of people and the centralized world of big banks, big information, big pharma, central power, big versus people. And this is the end scene of the movie, And it's which part of the team do you want to be on, I have spoken to the occasional banker before, and I remember talking to one woman, and she worked in Bank of China, and I said to her, I know a little bit about cryptocurrency. If you want to know about cryptocurrency, I can give you a little 101. And she just had a sour look on her face, and she says, "I think that's evil and disgusting," or something to that effect. And because she was fully invested into that world, And so it's like, okay, so someone I can't talk about it, but there are people, everything kind of going on in this space. And I think, the banking industry is kind of very dinosaur-like, but they've probably got something under their hood, this one world currency, but. The people is the David out of the Goliath, so choose your team.
So what you're saying is invest in silver and crypto.
Yeah, so I can't tell anybody what to do.
Yes.
But I'm loaded up on a lot of silver, and I'm loaded up on crypto, and especially in the crypto world. The crypto world goes from very, very safe crypto down to very highly speculative crypto.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of speculative crypto in what's called the DeFi movement so far, which is this whole movement for decentralized finance. It's all borrowing and lending. It's a very experimental space so far. There are going to be some people rising out from the ashes from it, and there's a lot of money being made, but you've got to be on it every couple of hours. You know what I mean? And that's where there's a lot of money being made, but it's like you're a trader and you're on it every second. But then if you're like, you just want to save some money and protect yourself and not have to worry, it's Bitcoin. That's the easiest one. But I'm also a proponent of something called Monero, and so that's what Monero looks like, the logo. So Monero came out of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin in the early days had a lot of core development teams. There was a branch away of programmers, and they were all. So here's the thing about Bitcoin: it's censorship resistant, but it's not fungible. And what is fungibility? Fungibility is I've got $1, and I give that to you in person, and then you give that to the person in the cafe. You cannot trace the history of that dollar. That's called fungibility. And if I give you that, one gold coin, and you give that gold coin to someone else, cannot trace the history of gold fungibility.
Yeah.
It's not fungible. The blockchain, which is this kind of like DNA, think of it like a DNA that's constantly growing, is a list of all the transactions, and you can follow every transaction going on. You just can't put a name to that transaction. So places like Coinbase, where you buy it in America, you've got to sign KYC, your driver's license review. So they know who you are as you're buying Bitcoin. It's your on-ramp to the crypto world.
Yeah.
You've got that Bitcoin, and then you send that Bitcoin to another address, you bet your bottom dollar you'll be following. So you just look at what Edward Snowden's been releasing these last few years. There was a company called Chainalysis, and they analyze the block. They follow it, and I have no question. I have 99% sure that the NSA is following all the movements of the blockchain, constantly refining their surveillance mechanism of the blockchain and other blockchains that are transparent. Which brings me on to Monero. Monero's got what's called fungibility. If I send you one Monero and it leaves my phone, it goes into the blockchain, like shaken around like a lottery ball system, and it pops out the other end on your phone. You cannot trace its history. It's untrackable. And so that's fungibility. And so Monero is what's called a privacy. And so if you want to basically protect yourself from the government and protect yourself from anybody that could, basically the government, and you've been tracked, is have Monero. And then people say, but that will the drug dealers use it. No, they go, well, the most abused currency in existence is the US dollar. You know what I mean? For drug dealers and terrorists, it's the US dollar. And so it's about the intent of the currency. And people want privacy. And then the next argument is, why would I need to be private? I've got nothing to hide. And then I say, great, give me your credit card number. So where is privacy? What privacy, I think, will be the next era coming in. The need for privacy will become very, very mainstream. So I was driving down the beach yesterday, and there was a big billboard from Apple. Okay. And it was a picture of the iPhone. Oh, it's not even showing the iPhone. Look at that. Okay. It was a picture of the iPhone, and it says iPhone. And it had the underword, and then one word, privacy.
Wow.
That was the new Apple billboard. But I think, wait a minute, doesn't Apple have the whole COVID tracking system kind of like integrated into it? But basically, they're selling it. They obviously see the writing on the wall. That was a big billboard, privacy. So that will be privacy and communications. Like a lot of people are moving from Gmail onto Proton Mail. People are now moving off off Facebook onto Telegram. Yeah. So there's a push.
Yeah, clearly. It seems like there's a huge war on privacy at this point. Yeah. With relations of China as well, and everything that's happening with our information and our personal data. So it's good to know that there is this cryptocurrency that doesn't track or cannot be tracked.
Well, it's good, and they have programmers working on it, staying one step ahead of it the whole time. So this is some very, very bullish news for Monero, is that the IRS put out a statement the other day. It was in the news that they are offering grants of $625,000 for people that can track the blockchain of Monero. And I thought that's very bullish news, because if whatever the government's trying to stop, that's kind of what you want to be in. Yeah. So they're trying to prevent. The government wants control of everything. They want to see what's going on. They want to track you. You want to be chipped. You'll just be cattle, chip and tag, track, and that is the death of privacy, And they can't take their cut, they can't take their profit, and then they'll say, well, it's a black market. What is a black market? A black market is just two people doing voluntary business, voluntary transaction without stealing from another person, and it's both voluntary. That's all about, and that the government doesn't take their cut from it. That's that market, and that's what they'll call it, black market. No, it's just basically people doing voluntary business together. Yeah.
Right. It was so interesting when I saw you the other day and you had like the silver coins. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, because I remember you were saying that, a lot of people are already investing in gold, but since silver's pegged to gold, what you're saying is that it's smarter to invest in silver coins.
Yeah. So there's something called a gold-silver ratio. Yeah. And so here's gold here, and silver is like a wave, like an elastic band. Its price is stretched to gold. And about 6 months ago, when the whole market deleveraged and collapsed, silver's price dropped down to about $11. Okay, and it was all because everything was sort of being deleveraged and everybody's margins were being pulled and all this stuff. And that was the cheapest relative to gold it's been in thousands of years. I don't know how to track the price of silver to gold, but the cheapest has been 1,000. Yeah. The ratio went down to 1 to 125. That's for every 125 silver coins that you buy, it will buy you one gold coin. Now, in the ground, there is a supposed silver supply for every ounce of gold that they mine 16 ounces of silver. So what happened is that elastic band shot right back, and now it's starting to shoot the other way. Okay, and so historical trends have showing that the gold to silver ratio, when it shoots back the other way, will go down to at least 1 to 20. Okay, so 20 silver coins will buy 1 ounce gold.
Okay.
But 1 ounce of gold is like $2,000 more in the future. So what I'm doing, buy a ton of silver. I bought a whole bunch as it went to that extreme ratio, and it's ride the gold silver ratio all the way down to at least 1 to 20, and then start switching up for the gold coin, because gold is the king of gold is the king of everything, and take it down. And so then you start switching up for the gold. And so there is a core, there is actual a certain kind of people who are deep in this kind of trading world have actually said that silver, because the stretch back was so big to 1 to 125, it's probably going to stretch back to a single digit ratio, like 1 to 10 or 1 to 9. So which means if you've got 10 silver coins, you're going to have 1 gold coin.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you think, well, what's the price of gold going to be? $2,000. And then based on the current printing from the Federal Reserve, it's like, well, what's the gold going to be? No one really kind of knows, but there's been speculative calls on the price of gold by a few big kind of like people, money historian.
Yeah.
There was one guy, Jim Rickards, whose books are really excellent, by the way, worth watching. He's breaking down this whole economy crash like with a fine-tooth comb. And he's calling based on how the money's been printed and then previous highs of gold. He's calling a gold price, just based on the rate of the money print, calling it for $15,000 gold by 2025. That's 4 years. 15,000. Yeah. What is the roof of gold? What's the top? There is no kind of top. So then if you've got basic, simple kind of, let's do best case scenario, $15,000 gold, 2025, and then you go, well, what's the price of silver? You can get a silver coin, 1/10 of the price of gold. That's $100 silver. Okay, for one silver coin. Right now it's like $30.
Yeah.
That's, I'd say, best case scenario. But who knows where this money printing goes? I mean, right now they're just going crazy. If you go to a website called usadebtclock.org, you can just start seeing. Have you seen it before? The USA debt clock. It's this big machine, this big mechanization of how the money's flowing around with the debt market.
To check it out.
You get dizzy looking at this, and that debt ain't going down. It's just going up and up and up.
Yeah.
And that debt, and that when it all pops, that needs to find a home. When all the stock market pops and all these bubbles pop, that liquidity needs to find a home. The safest home is usually in times of crisis, in times of fear, has always been metals, and I'll be like crypto.
So interesting.
Yeah. And then, the question is, well, once if that value goes right up, then what do you do with that money?
Hey, I mean, at least you know that silver and gold will always be around.
Yeah. So I recommend people to watch The Hidden Secrets of Money, just to you just need to see the lay of the land. Once you see the lay of the land, you can understand.
I know. I mean, we're just going, like you said, into deeper and deeper debt, because where is this money coming from? That's all the stimulus going into the economy, especially in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just money that has to come from somewhere.
Right. Or from the future, right? From the grandkids or something.
Future, exactly. Yeah. And I think we're going to be in some serious inflation.
Yeah. These next couple of years is going to be quite a ride. Just make sure you got your basic survivals met. Have good friends around you.
Yeah, I better go take a look at some silver coins after this.
Okay. Well, I buy mine from goldsilver.com.
Oh, goldsilver.com.
That's Mike Maloney, the guy that wrote the episode. And so if I was to say, let's just say, if I was to buy 100 ounces of silver, okay, let's just say, I'm just sort of putting it hypothetically, 100 ounces of silver is $3,000, and you've got some money that you just want to save for that rainy day. Silver is price going to go that day, and you just want to save it for a rainy day.
Yeah.
You buy 100 coins. You can get it shipped to you. Hide it somewhere in the freezer. Who knows? When you put in a safe, every time that silver goes up $1, like 27, 28, 29, 30, you make $100.
Yeah. Right.
And then you go, well, that's a pretty good gain from $3,000 investment. Every time it goes up $1, I make $100, $200, $300, but then if you were to have that $3,000 sitting in the bank, I mean, how much interest is it earning sitting in the bank? You need money for survival, the cash, but it's like 0.00 whatever.
Right. You need your basic.
Yeah. You need your emergency funds, and you need all your kind of allotments of, okay, you can survive here.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like you said, diversifying is pretty important,
Yeah,
just to have your
yeah,
money in different places. And
yeah.
especially with, how unstable the economy is and how
Yeah,
we're going into like a deeper recession than the Great Recession.
yeah.
I mean, these are really like, things to really look at. And I'm excited. I'm definitely going to check out that documentary.
This is the greatest recession that we're going into. We're
Yeah.
at the end of what's called a debt super cycle, usually about 100-year cycles.
Hmm.
And so we're going to see, this is the movie, this is like the crunch scene in the movie. We're about to
Oh,
witness the death of the US dollar as we know it. We don't know what's coming in to replace it. It's a ideological war ground going on. You know?
great, great, absolutely. So I had a lot of information to
Yeah,
go through after this, and thank you for sharing, Jonathan. This is I feel like we're gonna have to do like 2, 3 more episodes just to even get deeper into
yeah. I mean,
all of this.
yeah.
But when are you? So you're heading out of LA in a couple days down to San Diego, and then
San
what's your
Diego.
trek from there?
And then I'll probably maybe head up to Nevada. I'm doing my goodbye trip from the US.
Okay.
6 months on the road last year, and I was like jetting, and I circled the entire United States, and
Oh,
I got to see,
that's incredible! I need to do that trip.
yeah, it was amazing. I got to see so many states. I got to meet so many people, all different types. Americans are great people,
Yeah.
The media is just dividing them like you wouldn't believe. It's
Yeah.
just take away the media, they're all really really good,
Mm.
and most are. And so from what I see, I think these next couple of years, some of the cities are going to be kind of like places you don't want to be in.
Mm.
And some cities look like they're really going to probably thrive. So
Mm.
as you're seeing the diaspora around the USA, you're seeing a big exodus from New York, and they're all going down to Florida.
Yeah.
I was in Miami last year for a month. I mean, it's great, and then you're hearing a lot of people from California all heading out to Texas.
Yeah.
And then I was in Austin last year. That's a freaking good town.
I love Austin.
Yeah.
That's
So
a great town.
yeah.
You're so how long do you think you're going to be back in New Zealand for?
So being with my family is really great, but I'm such a mover
Yes.
of the world, that being in one spot and feeling that you can't move is kind of like,
It's like I gotta
and
go.
and New Zealand's a very small city, and I have a feeling I still want to do lots of work travel, but right now it's just consolidate, write it out, travel where you can in your local domestic region,
Yeah.
and just write out these next X amount of years to see what's going to play out. I can't see the future.
That means I have to come visit you.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
I've never been to New Zealand, so I would like to come at some point when your country accepts me.
Yeah, gotcha. So what it's like, the country's like, if you were to get Hawaii and California and you put the two together and you had the development of maybe how California was back in the 70s, like the suburbia and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's New Zealand. It's not as wet as Hawaii, but it's lush enough. It's not as dry as California, but the climate's really good. It's cool sea breeze. The North Island's subtropical. The South Island's temperate. But like Northern California, Southern California. The people are easygoing, and you can see literally every sort of landscape on the entire planet within one country.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I'm so excited. I have such a like travel bug right now because we've been stuck one place for half a year, and this is the longest amount of time I've been in LA without leaving internationally. I'll definitely hit you up. Hopefully by next year I'll be able to come visit at some point.
Cool.
But good luck with everything, and thank you so much. We'll have to do another one of these videos because we just have to dive deeper in every single topic. We kind of just touch the surface level.
Exactly.
But now we have resources to look at ourselves because of what you suggested. Yeah.
Sounds pretty good.
Well, thanks, Jonathan. It's good to see you.
Audrey. Yeah.
All right. See you later.
Okay, thanks.